Hi, today I'd like to talk about some JavaScript hacks. And by hacks, I mean using some JavaScript features, not how they were supposed to be used, but rather in some new way which allows for shorter code or for more meaningful code or something like that. Some of those are quite controversial, so I'm not saying you should be using those, but you will definitely see those in other people's code, and it's good to understand how it works and what makes it possible to use it. So let's start with the first one, which is using double negation to check non-emptiness of a value. So in JavaScript all the values can be either truthy or falsy. And by that I mean, so if you use the value in a condition, it will behave appropriately. If it's truthy, it will behave as a Boolean value true. So for example, if we use if hello, then print the console truthy. On the other hand, if we use an empty string, it will not print truthy to the console because empty string in JavaScript is considered to be falsy. The other way to know if the value is truthy or falsy is to use double negation. So if we use it with hello, it will print true. If you use it with empty string, it will print false. Other falsy values, for example, are null and undefined. And this can be quite tricky when you would like to filter an array of multiple values. Some of those are strings, some of those are empty strings, and some of those are nulls and undefined, which happens quite a lot in the JavaScript world. So in order to do this, you can simply say filter values which are truthy. And it works because empty string is considered to be falsy, same for null and same for undefined. In this example, we can make it even shorter. Well, 2 characters shorter when we can remove those guys here. It will still work because filter can accept any value, and if it's truthy, it will leave an element in an array. If it's falsy, it will filter it out. So in this case, it still works. So as you can see, that's quite handy technique to make your code a little bit more concise. Some people say that this is not so good because sometimes you might have cases like this, for example, and 0 in this case will be filtered out as well. Because in JavaScript 0 is considered to be falsy for some reason. So you only should use this technique when you're quite sure about the structure of your initial array. Otherwise, it's quite handy. So let's go to the next one. Using compacts as array filter boolean. So yes, this is kind of the same thing because, for example, if you have an array which has several strings in it, and again null and undefined, and you want to compact it, you can simply do the same thing. You can see filter x. Or, and you can see this quite a lot in some libraries and other people's code, you can use a function called boolean, which will do the same thing for you because what it does is transforms a value to a boolean value. So this is more or less the same thing. All right, let's go to the third one, which is defaulting values with OR operator. So you know this OR operator in JavaScript when you can say that A true or false, and if one of those guys true, it will return true, and if both of those are false, it will return false. The interesting thing is that you can use it not only with Boolean values, but you can also use it with, for example, strings or any other values. And in this case, it will actually return the first non-falsy value. So in this case, it will return string. And in this case, it will also return string. And in cases like this, and in cases like this. So you know what I'm aiming to with that. So assume you have a function called greet, which takes a name and prints hello there. Name. It works, but if you pass an empty string or null, it doesn't make too much sense. So how can we fix it? We can say that actually name is name, or use a default value for this, let's say John. And now you can use it like this, you can use it with empty string, you will still have something at least. So as you can see, this OR operator can be used here as a way to provide a default value for some variables, which you know in this particular case can be null or undefined or an empty string. So let's go to the next one. This one is quite new. It uses the new feature of ES6 called the spread operator. Basically what it does is kind of flatten an array. It takes all the elements of an array and puts them into the structure that you say it to put it. So for example, if you have two arrays, 1, 2, 3, and B, 4, 6, 5, then you can use concat function to concatenate them, and you will have an array with all the elements. But nowadays, you will most likely see in the code something like this. When you spread A and you spread B, and the result is more or less the same. In this case, I think it's more preferable to use this thing, because we can actually put here another array with more elements. It will still work. And we can actually add here just a single values right here, and it will still work. So this notation is definitely more expandable and more useful, and I will always use this instead of using concat function. Alright, let's go to the next one, which is swapping variables with AB equals BA. So this one actually uses the new feature of ES6 called destructoring. In this case, we simply create a new array with the same values, and we immediately extracting it or destructuring it into another array with the same values but swapped. So I will show you how it works. Imagine you have values A equal 1 and B equal 2. So when you would like to swap these values, you might do something like this. You might say, okay, I have a new variable called TMP, and I will put here A, and then I say A equal B, and then I say B equal TMP. And in this case, A is 2 and B is 1. So this is one way to swap them, for which you should introduce a new variable, which is not very nice. Instead, you can do like this. You can say AB equals BA, and that's it. After that, A will be 1, B will be 2, the same way they were in the beginning. So this is quite a fancy way to swap two values. On to the next one, shallow cloning with array and object. So this one is actually quite handy. I use it a lot, especially in React, where you have to shallow clone object pretty often with some changes probably. So for example, if you have an object and you want to create a new one with the same values, you can do like this. You can say obj2 is equals a obj a, b obj b. So you have to kind of know which values this object has. It will work, of course, but it's not too pretty, and instead you can do something like this. You can use the destructor operator and put an object here. Now object 2 is the same thing as object 1. The references are still different, obviously. So if you need to copy the object and modify some fields during the way, you can also do something like that. You can say, okay, I will take object as a base for my cloning, but then I will say b will actually be 3. And now, as you can see, we have slightly different objects, and the initial object will still stay the same. Absolutely the same thing you can do with an arrays. So you have an array 1, 2, 3. You can say, okay, I would like to actually create a new array which will start from array, but we will also add 4 and 5. Again, those guys are different. Those are different references to different arrays. So yeah, that's it. And let's go to the second one, which is creating a list of numbers with this notation. This is quite neat. So if you do like this, you can say that we can have an array of undefined, which we can use to create an array of numbers. Sometimes this is useful when you would like to create, I don't know, 10 elements, and you just need an array of natural numbers, or from like 0 to 9. So this is again quite handy, and the notation is pretty short. Okay, the 8th one, removing duplicates with new set array. Yes, so in JavaScript you have this object, you have this actually class called set, and it works like a mathematical set. So this is a collection of objects in which there cannot be any duplicate objects. So the same thing as in mathematics. So we can utilize it to remove duplicates from an array. For example, if you have an array with some numbers and some duplicates, it is still a valid array. But if you create a set out of it, yeah, you need to use new here. You will create a set with all the duplicates removed. Then how do you transform it back to an array? Well, you just wrap it into an array and use the spread notation. So that's it. Now you have the same array but with all the duplicates removed. And let's go to this one, flatten with. Yeah, this is also one of my favorites. So sometimes you can have an objects like those, like you might say that I have 1, 2, 3, and then we have an inner array with 4 and 5. And we would like to put all the numbers into just one array. So in the end result, we would like to have something like this. So how we can do this? Well, the idea is that you can use a concat method, and here you simply say I would like to concat those guys. And the reason why it works is because concat actually can take many values here. And if one of them is actually an array which consists of another array, it will put it out and put it into the output array. Okay, now for this one I have to say it might not be used too often because nowadays there are beautiful libraries like Lodash, and there's a function called flatten which you can use, and there's also deep flatten which will work any level deep. So yeah. Phew, okay, so I guess that's it. I'm pretty sure I didn't mention all the hacks, and I'm pretty sure that you have a list of your own. So if you would want to share it, please do. It will be very interesting to me to read about those in the comments to this video. Thank you guys, and see you next time.